Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into a big one. The 2025 Hindi historical action film, Chhaava.
Absolutely. And our main source here is the film's Wikipedia page. It gives us a pretty comprehensive look, the plot, the cast, how it was made, the reception, and the controversies, too.
Right. So for everyone listening, our mission today is, well, more than just a summary. We want to dig out the really interesting bits, the crucial stuff about this film's whole journey.
Yeah, give you a solid, concise understanding of what Chhaava is all about and the impact it had.
Exactly. So maybe we should start with man himself, Sambhaji Maharaj. For anyone needing a quick refresher, who was he? Why is his story so significant?
Okay, so Sambhaji Maharaj was the eldest son of the legendary Shivaji Maharaj, founder of the Maratha Empire. He succeeded his father, and he was a major figure of resistance against the Mughal Empire. A really formidable warrior, known for his defiance. His reign was, well, pretty much constant warfare.
In Chhaava, the film, it's not pulling the story out of thin air, is it? It's based on something.
That's right. It's an adaptation of a very popular Marathi novel, Chhaava, by Shivaji Sawant. So it has this strong literary background to start with.
Got it. And the team behind the camera, director Laxman Utakar, we know him from other films, and Dinesh Vijan, Matic Films producing.
Yeah, interesting choices there. And the cast is pretty star-studded. You've got Vicky Kaushal playing Sambhaji Maharaj himself.
Big role.
Huge. Then Akshay Khanna as the Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb, and Rashmika Mandanna playing Yasubai Bansal, Sambhaji's wife.
Okay, good lineup. And it hits cinemas February 14th, 2025. Right, let's dive straight into the plot then. Where does Chhaava the film kick things off?
It basically throws you right into the period just after Shivaji Maharaj has died. Aurangzeb, the Mughal emperor, he thinks maybe the Marathas will fall apart now.
But Sambhaji doesn't let that happen.
It's not at all. Almost immediately, he launches this daring attack on Burhanpur, a key Mughal city. It's a clear message. The resistance continues.
That Burhanpur attack sounds like a statement. And there's that famous scene connected to it, isn't there? The lion encounter. Tell us about that.
Ah, yes. The film shows Sambhaji, during that campaign, cornered in a room with a lion. And in this really dramatic moment, he supposedly splits its jaw with his bare hands.
Wow. Just like that.
Yeah, it's portrayed as this incredible feat of bravery. It sets him up instantly as this larger-than-life figure. And, when Aurangzeb hears about it, he realizes this isn't going to be easy. The Maratha threat is very much alive.
So he's got this huge external enemy in the Mughals, but wasn't there trouble brewing at home too? Internal politics?
Oh, absolutely. Big time. When he returns and gets crowned Chhatrapati, he faces this major conspiracy. His own stepmother, Soyarabai, she, along with some powerful courtiers like Anaji Dato Sachiv, they plot to remove him and put her son, Rajaram, who's Sambhaji's stepbrother, on the throne instead.
So betrayal right from the start, that must have made things incredibly difficult.
Definitely. He's fighting on two fronts, essentially. The massive Mughal army outside and this dangerous plotting inside his own court.
And Aurangzeb, he wasn't exactly known for playing nice, was he? How does the film show the Mughal campaign?
The film depicts it as pretty brutal. Raids, pillaging, mass casualties, arson, enslavement, torture. It doesn't really hold back in showing the harshness of the Mughal invasion.
Which makes the internal Maratha conflict seem even more tragic, I suppose.
Exactly. All that energy spent fighting each other when there's this huge threat at the door.
Now, there's another twist involving Aurangzeb's family, right? His son gets involved.
Yes, Mirza Muhammad Akbar. He rebels against his father, Aurangzeb, and actually seeks refuge with Sambhaji.
Really? With his father's sworn enemy?
Yeah. After some hesitation, Sambhaji agrees to protect him, and here's the kicker. Akbar reveals that Soyarabai, Sambhaji's stepmother, had been secretly writing to him, outlining her plot against Sambhaji.
No way. So the proof came from the enemy's camp.
Kind of, yeah. It confirms the treachery. Sambhaji is obviously hit hard by this, but he keeps his word to protect Akbar and deals with the conspirators. Soyarabai is confronted by her own brother, Hamburo Mohite, who's actually loyal to Sambhaji.
It sounds like he was constantly under pressure. How did he manage to hold out against the Mughals for so long? What were his strategies?
Well, he was smart. He used guerrilla tactics really effectively. The Deccan terrain, it's rugged, difficult.
Right.
So his forces used ambushes, surprise raids, quick maneuvers, basically bleeding the larger Mughal army, slowing them down, making it a war of attrition.
The film also touches on personal losses he suffered, doesn't it? Beyond the political betrayals.
It does. Soyarabai eventually dies of illness. And Sambhaji, showing some responsibility, takes care of Rajaram, even arranges his marriage to Tarabai, who happens to be Hambiro Mohite's daughter.
All right.
But then a huge blow comes when Hambiro Mohite himself, his loyal general and brother-in-law, dies in battle. That's a massive loss for Sambhaji, militarily and personally.
Meanwhile, Aurangzeb is getting more and more obsessed.
Completely obsessed.
Yeah.
The film shows him becoming increasingly fixated on capturing Sambhaji. He even takes this vow, apparently, not to wear his imperial crown until Sambhaji is defeated.
Wow. That's intense.
It drives the whole campaign. His daughter, Zina-un-Nissa, even tries to capture her own brother, Mirza Akbar, while he's under Sambhaji's protection. But Sambhaji foils her plot, staying true to his word, shows his character,
Okay, so let's get to the turning point. His capture. How did that happen? How does the film show it?
The film frames it clearly as betrayal. He's at Sangameshwar with only a small force, maybe 150 men, and Yusubai's own brothers, his wife's brothers, reveal his location to the Mughals.
Oh, devastating.
Totally. He and his men fight bravely, massively outnumbered. A couple of his generals, Santaji Ghorpade and Danaji Jadhav, manage to escape to warn Yusubai, but Sambhaji is captured. That betrayal element is key.
And even when captured, his defiance is legendary. How's that shown?
Powerfully. He and his advisor, Kavi Kailash, are brought before Aurangzeb. Aurangzeb offers him his life, maybe even an alliance, if he just gives up, renounces Swaraj self-rule.
And Sambhaji refuses.
Absolutely refuses. Declares the Maratha fight will go on. It's a pivotal moment of defiance. After this, Kavi Kailash is executed.
And then comes the torture for Sambhaji himself. The description is graphic. How does the film handle that?
It reportedly depicts it quite brutally. Salt and wounds, fingernails pulled, hot rods in the eyes, tongue pulled out, all of it.
Whoa.
But the crucial point the film makes is that through all this agony, he never renounces Swaraj. He remains defiant to the very end.
Incredible strength.
Yeah. And the film apparently shows Aurangzeb having this sort of conflicted reaction. Maybe even a grudging respect for his enemy's resolve mixed with frustration.
But Sambhaji's death isn't the end of the story for the Marathas, right?
Not at all. The film shows Yesubai stepping up, ensuring the resistance continues. She plays a key role in getting Rajaram coronated as the next Chhatrapati.
So the struggle carries on.
Exactly. And the film ends with text, an epilogue, saying that within 3 decades of Sambhaji's death, the Marathas ultimately triumph, and the Mughal Empire begins its decline. It frames his sacrifice as ultimately successful in the long run.
A really powerful story arc. Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk about the making of the film. What drove the production?
Well, the director, Laxman Utekar, mentioned his motivation was really about bringing Sambhaji Maharaj's bravery to a wider audience. He felt Sambhaji wasn't as well known as his father, Shivaji, and wanted to change that.
And they put a lot of effort into research, it seems.
They did. Apparently a whole year was spent researching the 17th century Maratha period, traveling to historical sites like Chhatrapati, Sambhaji Nagar, Pune, Nashik, really trying to soak it all in.
Makes sense for a historical epic. What about the look and feel? Costumes, props?
Super important. The costume designer, Sheetal Sharma, talked about sourcing authentic Pathani saris, even restoring ancient borders for Rashmika Mandana's costumes. She personally went to places like Python and Narayanpeth. And get this, Vicky Kaushal's armor in one of the early action scenes weighed something like 17 or 18 kilograms.
That's intense. Imagine fighting in that.
Right. And the jewelry, the famous Pavani sword. The art directors, Subrata Chakraborty and Amit Ray, apparently looked at references from museums in London to get those details right.
And Vicky Kaushal's look.
Informed by historical busts and statues of Sambhaji Maharaj, trying to get that authentic portrayal.
And the music must have been a big part of it, too. Who did the score?
None other than A.R. Rahman. Big name. Lyrics by Irshad Kamil and Kshitij Patwardhan. Rahman's involvement definitely added a layer of prestige and probably helped create that epic feel.
Now, big productions often mean big paychecks. Any word on what the main actors earned?
Well, reports suggest Vicky Kaushal got around €10. And he really committed 4 months of training in sword fighting, horse riding. Plus, he gained about 25 kilos for the role.
25 kilos. That's serious commitment.
Yeah. Rashmika Mandana reportedly got 4 crore and Akshay Khanna as Aurangzeb around 2 crore. These are reported figures, of course.
Fair enough. And there was another big name involved, but maybe not on screen.
That's right. Ajay Devlin did the voiceover narration for the opening sequence. Adds that gravitas,
But the production wasn't all smooth sailing, was it? some bumps in the road?
No, there were a couple of things. Remember that Lazim dance sequence in the trailer? It featured Sambhaji and his wife.
Vaguely, yeah.
Well, it caused a bit of an uproar, some controversy. So the director actually decided to cut it from the final film.
Really? Okay.
And the censor board, the CBFC, also asked for some changes, some dialogue tweaks, and one scene completely removed.
Interesting. Okay, so the film gets made, controversies navigated.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk release and reception. How did it launch?
It was initially set for December 2024, but got pushed to February 14th, 2025. Pretty wide release, including IMAX. Interestingly, it also got a simultaneous release in Russia.
Russia.
Yeah. And it got declared tax-free in Madhya Pradesh and Goa, which helps. Plus, due to demand, they released a Telugu dub version later in March.
So reaching a broad audience and the box office, sounds like it did pretty well.
Pretty well is an understatement. It was a monster hit. Became the highest-grossing Indian and Hindi film of 2025. Ranks among the all-time highest-grossing Indian films.
Seriously? What are the numbers like?
The budget was reportedly around 140 crore. Worldwide gross estimates are somewhere between 783 and 807 crore.
Wow.
Domestic was huge, over 700 crore. Overseas added almost another under 90 crore. It just clicked with audiences. Maybe the history, the scale, the stars, a combination of things.
And it started strong right out of the gate.
Absolutely. Huge opening day, especially in Maharashtra. Big opening weekend worldwide, over 150 crore. Became Lakshmi Udakar's biggest hit by far.
And it kept going. Hit those big milestones.
Oh, yeah. Fastest to 200 crore, then 300 euro, 400, 500 euro, even crossed to 600 crore domestically. Really sustained momentum.
That euro 600 crore domestic figure, that sounds particularly significant for Hindi cinema.
It really is. It's apparently the first non-sequel Hindi film to cross 600 crore net just in the Hindi version. That's a big deal. It even beat Pushpa 2 in Maharashtra, which is saying something. Total footfalls estimated around 2.75 crore people. Massive reach.
Huge numbers. But box office success doesn't always mean universal critical acclaim. How did the critics react? Was it more mixed?
Yeah, that's a fair way to put it. More mixed. On Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 33% positive score from critics they track.
Okay, so what were the pros and cons, according to them?
Well, the praise often went to Vicky Kaushal's performance. People seem to agree he really threw himself into the role. The action sequences, the overall spectacle got nods too.
Right.
But criticisms often mention things like perceived historical inaccuracies, maybe not enough depth for some characters. Some reviews called it ultra-loud or ultra-violent. And some felt it maybe leaned a bit too heavily into nationalist sentiment without enough nuance.
So a range of opinions, which isn't unusual for big historical films.
Exactly.
Now, we touched on the Lism dance thing, but there were other controversies too, right? Beyond just film critics' opinions.
Yes, definitely. There was that issue with the Sheikh family threatening a lawsuit over historical inaccuracies. They objected to how their ancestors were allegedly portrayed as traitors.
How did that resolve?
The director, Utakar, issued an apology if any distress was caused, but also clarified the film didn't explicitly name specific families or villages involved in the betrayal plot.
Okay. And were there broader debates about the history or the film's impact?
Yes. A historian named Indrajit Sawant said he received threats after questioning the film's accuracy, specifically the portrayal of Soyarabai versus Anaji Dado, citing sources suggesting Brahmin clerks were the main betrayers. And then, after the release, there were more serious allegations. Accusations that the film could be reigniting religious hostility, particularly against Muslims in India. Comparisons were drawn by some to films like The Kashmir Files or The Kerala Story.
That's a serious charge. How did that play out?
Well, some politicians criticized the film, while others maybe praised Aurangzeb, which then caused a backlash from some Hindu organizations who made threats against Aurangzeb's tomb.
Oh, dear.
And tragically, reports linked these rising tensions to riots in Nagpur. The chief minister had to step in, appeal for calm, and condemn glorifying Aurangzeb, which sort of implicitly acknowledged the film's role in the heightened atmosphere.
So it really transcended being just a movie. It became a cultural flashpoint touching on history, identity, social issues.
Absolutely. Its whole journey from adapting a novel to the massive box office, the mixed reviews, and then these really intense controversies makes Chhaava a fascinating case study of historical films in contemporary India.
Okay, let's try and wrap up this deep dive.
Yeah.
We're to boil it down. What are the main things to take away from our look at Chhaava?
Well, we've seen the film's core narrative, Sambhaji Maharaj's incredible resistance, those iconic moments like the lion fight, the internal betrayals, his defiance under torture. Then there's the dedicated production trying for authenticity, the massive record-breaking box office success, especially that non-sequel 600 crore Hindi milestone. And alongside that, the mixed critical takes, and finally, those really significant controversies surrounding historical accuracy and its social impact.
And thinking back over our chat, what were the real aha moments for you? The things that really stood out?
I think the sheer contrast is striking. The almost mythic level of bravery shown, like the lion scene, versus the very real, very human political backstabbing he faced.
Yeah.
His unwavering stance during the torture is incredibly powerful, too. And on the reception side, that unprecedented box office for a standalone Hindi film is a definite aha, but equally how quickly and intensely it sparked those sensitive historical and religious debates is.
Well, it's a stark reminder of cinema's power, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And connecting this back to everyone listening, the story of Chhaava shows how films, especially historical ones, are rarely just entertainment. Absolutely. They reflect this complex mix of creative vision, audience desires, and the huge responsibility of portraying the past. The strong reactions, both positive and negative, just prove how deeply these stories resonate.
So maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to chew on. Given Chhaava's blend of history, fiction, and commercial appeal, and the passionate responses it generated, what does its journey tell us about how we engage with our history today? How do we choose which stories to tell, and maybe more importantly, which stories we choose to believe? Perhaps this conversation has sparked an interest to explore Sambhaji Maharaj's actual history even further. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.